As an aspiring literary scholar, you get to read a lot of fiction and non-fiction books. One of the books that I read some time ago that still stays at the forefront of my thinking is George Orwell's Animal Farm novella. Now, when I read that book as a Ghanaian, I was trying to compare and contrast which political parties and which government system in Ghana was actually behaving like the animals on the mono farm in the animal farm book. And then it struck me that the NDC party that we all thought were socialist had appropriated a term from the novel. They may have gotten it from elsewhere with other, different motives or inspirations, but I always found it difficult to understand why the NDC was referring to themselves as comrade Mutala, comrade Haruna, comrade Mahama, comrade Asidu Nketia, comrade whatever. So I'm like, is this that the NDC, like the party and its constitution and their thinking and everything was sort of couched from the Animal Farm book? Charlie, I have thought about it and I didn't know whoever advised them to go for the titles comrade and refer to each other as comrade. But if you've read that book, you realize something that started beautifully, the animals praying for, and hoping for an egalitarian society, ended up becoming more subjugating, more oppressive than what it was before they actually had independence from their owner. Now, why am I saying, why am I going on and on about the Animal Farm book? Something disastrous just happened in Ghana today. And for me, I'm scared. It seems that fellow Ghanaians, the rule of law is under siege. It seems when President Mahama said he was coming to reset the country, all of us were bought into this reset agenda thinking that everything was going to be looked at under scrutiny, fairness, justice, and, equity, whatever it is that, reset means to you. Those ideals that you were hoping for apparently are not the same as what the NDC had in their books. So clearly, think again about the Animal Farm book. Napoleon and the other animals behaving differently and thinking the other animals are stupid. With the Court of Appeal unanimously overturning the conviction of Sedina Tamakloe, the former CEO of Maslow. Does that not remind you of the notion in the novel that 4 legs good, 2 legs bad? Just a week or so ago, Shemaun to me was jailed for 20 years for giving his land for illegal mining, for being accomplice, for aiding and abetting. 20 years, 2 legs bad, because he belongs to the opposition NPP party. Yet, after that particular judgment, he is still in court. There is still this case against him, still on Galamsey with regards to the Tanon and Reforest, and also with the Exim Bank court issue. I hear there's more. There are more cases against him, 2 more. So altogether 4. So with what Sedina Tamakloe just basically had the sort of judgment she had today, does that buy into the ideas of the NPP that the government is sort of engaging in political, witch hunting, and that Shemaun to me is a political prisoner? Could be, because I'll play an audio shortly for you to listen to, maybe after my next sentence. But if the woman was quote unquote and so-called, if the woman was quote unquote not guilty, right? Like the appeal court judges are saying, and then for them to have unanimously agreed. If you listen to Joseph Dinjok, who happens to be the prosecuting lawyer on her case between 2017 and 2021 during Nanado's era, he was deputy attorney general as well, with Godfred Damianda, the substantive minister who is Gloria Kufu. You get to know that some element of thievery went on. And now this lady has been freed because her party is in power. During the case, she sought excuse to travel outside to seek medical care and never returned. So she was tried in absentia and was slapped, with a 10-year jail term. She was just, sent back to Ghana a couple of, is it weeks or months ago. And people were actually asking, where is this woman? Is she actually in somewhere? Is she at Nkafo? Where is she? And then we kept hearing, she's where is Does this also suggest that she was actually under some house arrest somewhere, under some expensive, some expensive house somewhere with protection? Because, see, the math is not mathing. All of this is not adding up. And I'm highly, highly, highly disappointed. Court acquits and discharges Sedina Tamakloe. The Court of Appeal has unanimously overturned the conviction of the 10-year custodial sentence imposed on Sedina Tamakloe at former chief executive officer of the Microfinance and Small Loans Center, aka Maslow. Of course, the Attorney General, there are reports that he's going to appeal this case, call for a stay of execution of the earlier judgment at the Supreme Court level. Charlie, I'm so disappointed. I'm so disappointed. But let's listen to Joseph Dinjok, who happens to be the Deputy Attorney General between 2017 and 2021, and of course, the sort of details and revelations he keeps on the case. This was on News File on Joy News some time back. Take a listen.
Samson, this particular matter in particular, the first time I reviewed the documents personally, when the copies were made for us to have a look at it, by the Attorney General and to have a conference to discuss the details, I actually cringed. I couldn't believe it. The facts were like they were concocted, to be very honest with you. The facts were like they were concocted. Because this was not just stealing, but as to borrow a word from Dog, naked thievery. You know, in one of the charges, Samson, do you know what happened? The boss of Maslock decided to give a loan to a rural bank. And they did not even reach any agreement. Yet the money was transferred to the rural bank. When the money got to the account of the rural bank, the people then asked, okay, so what is the interest rate of the money you have sent to us? Imagine, something that you should have done earlier was not even done. Then the interest rate was then quoted by Sedina. When the interest rate was quoted, the rural bank management said, look, the interest rate you have quoted, if we pick this money, we cannot make any money out of it, so we want to return it to you. What do? Good corporate practice. You write to them and give your account, Maslock account. Then they pay the money directly into the account and produce receipt for accountability purposes. You know what she said? She directed them to cash the money and bring it to Accra. And then they cashed the money in a Ghana must go, carried it to Accra. They met at Bachona filling station, Total filling station, and the money was packed into her boot and she drove away. And that ended it. She's been convicted of that particular charge. Yeah.
So
then the second one.
Yes.
I'm giving you, I'm just itemizing them because I have the facts. I don't need to even read anything. Yeah. The second one, they were supposed to do some nationwide sensitization workshops for some category of persons with respect to matters like this. The money was about 2 million Ghana cedis. Less than 5% was used for the intended purpose. The rest was shared. As if it was ground nuts. Look, there was a fire disaster in one of the markets. Some money was allocated to help the victims. Just a little percentage of it was used. The rest, they shared it. There were some phones they had to buy. One on the market, 100 cedis. The prices they quoted, 400 each. Clearly, some vehicles were procured. In fact, those vehicles even delayed the trial because we had finished all the charges and then we bumped on a report which indicated that vehicles had been bought, some of them at thrice the market price. Some at thrice the market price. Some at twice the market price. We had to amend our charges to include all these.